Previously on Jonna's journey. After enduring her emotional collapse in Black Retreat, the mage accepted a contract against bandits, not merely for gold or reputation, but as a controlled experiment to observe her own mind under pressure. Each encounter stopped being just survival and became analysis. She began searching for the precise moment where her internal balance had shifted. Why fear and tension, once familiar, now left her more fragmented when controlled rather than released. Through successive battles, a pattern slowly revealed itself. It was not only negative emotions she needed to manage. Positive ones were equally dangerous in excess. Confidence could harden into arrogance, and in Aldor, any imbalance could become fatal. When the contract was finally complete, her chosen family understood her silence without demanding explanation. And together, they continued forward, not as answers found, but as questions still unfolding, now shaped around Jonna's search for equilibrium. Now in the Cenobium of the Triune Host, Jonna begins a different kind of study, one that has nothing to do with survival and everything to do with control. The idea of balance is no longer theoretical. It has become necessity. Here she starts observing something she had previously ignored. Positive emotions carry weight too. Relief after danger, confidence after success. Even brief moments of clarity begin to accumulate, like energy with nowhere to discharge. If fear fractures her, then excess harmony can just as easily drown her. She begins to understand her mind less like something broken and more like a magnetic field that must be constantly regulated, not to suppress emotion, but to prevent overflow in any direction. Because if it tips too far again, it won't collapse from fear this time. It will explode from imbalance. Every mistake carries consequence. Every distraction risks blood. And yet it is precisely there, in the middle of tension and instability, where her mind becomes most honest. The stronger her emotions grow, the clearer the patterns become. Fear, relief, excitement, confidence, frustration. Each battle forces those emotions to rise to the surface, strong enough for Jonna to finally observe them instead of burying them again. So the Cenobium becomes more than a destination. She can finally learn how to balance it before it consumes her again. Somewhere along the road, Jonna began trusting too much in her own power. Before, fear forced her to think about every possibility, every mistake. There had been no room for overconfidence, but now, the imbalance had shifted in the opposite direction. The enemies here reminded her of something important. Confidence without awareness was just another form of blindness. Balance was not abandoning fear, nor rejecting confidence. It was learning to hold both at the same time, to trust herself while still respecting the danger before her. Frustration still lingered beneath the surface, a bitterness she could not fully silence. Her morale was low, worn down by the need to rebuild herself too quickly. trying to recover the emotions and experiences Bryn had denied her for years. But she kept moving forward, slowly shaping that emotional magnetic field into something more stable. It still demanded constant concentration to keep the storm inside her from collapsing into extremes. But for the first time, it was holding together. And little by little, Jonna was beginning to succeed. Now the boss fight was approaching, and much like balance itself, this battle stood before Jonna as something unknown. The Admonisher possessed an overwhelming range of spells, so instead of chasing power, she began preparing something far more important. A strategy. Jonna realized that true equilibrium in combat was not domination, but the ability to remain calm enough to innovate in the middle of danger. The Admonisher fell, and with its defeat, something inside Jonna evolved as well. The balance within her had grown stronger. The magnetic field of her mind had not only stabilized, it had expanded. Now it could contain more emotions without collapsing under pressure. At first, Jonna barely noticed the change, but the pattern had always been there. In the past, controlling fear and negative emotions strengthened her magic. Now, the same truth revealed itself again. This time, it was not rage or panic empowering her. It was balance itself. By learning to regulate both positive and negative emotions together, her electromancy became stronger than ever. Slowly, Jonna began to understand something important. Mastery would not come from suppressing emotions. It would come from learning to control the entire storm within her. The path to mastering her current power begins now. Once Jonna understood the foundation of her magic, the balance between emotions and control, everything started to change. This was the true turning point. No longer survival alone, but conscious growth, as both a sorceress and a person. In very little time, her progress had become enormous. Now she searches for perfect equilibrium, trying to engrave that sensation deep into her mind before the next stage arrives. A few more bloodsuckers, a few more battles where instinct, pressure, and control move together as one. Not simply to become stronger, but to make balance feel natural inside her. And once that feeling settles completely, a new phase of Jonna's journey will begin.
And with that, the contracts of Rotten Willow were finally complete. For Jonna, it felt less like an ending and more like preparation for something greater. Now, a more dangerous task waits ahead. A request from Alcree the Occultist. He seeks a mysterious ritual tablet said to grant unknown benefits. And the answers rest within a distant church and the priest who guards its secrets. For now, there is rest. A quiet fire. Time shared with the family she never expected to find. Then, the road begins again. A new challenge, a harder mission, and the first true test of the balance Jonna has fought so hard to build. Don't miss the next chapter, where Jonna will discover whether this new version of herself can endure what comes next.